Welcome to the Seize the Day weekly podcast, your connection to all things cruising, powered by Travel with Brigetta.
Hello, I'm Julie Williams, along with Karla Meza, travel agent with Travel with Brigetta and cruise expert at the agency that is your cruise expert, which is Travel with Brigetta. Today, we're going to talk about something very important, something you need to know. We're going to talk about some scams and probably mostly what happens in port, but some of them will be like before, as you're booking and before you go. So stick with us to the end too for how to proactively protect yourself overall from these scams. Let's talk about booking, Karla. What do you see as a travel agent that people come to you that had gotten conned in a booking process?
So we see a few different things, especially in the booking process. It's more than likely going to be a deal that seems too good to be true. Yeah. And that's going to be a link to, some kind of itinerary that it probably does exist. You probably can look it up, but the deal itself, you're not going to be able to find it on the cruise line's actual website. That's the first red flag there, is if you can't find either that room or that tier is available on the cruise line's website or on another reputable website or your travel agent, of course.
There are times that travel agents know of specials, like the cruise line might be advertising one special, but the travel agents know about 6 or something like that, where maybe you could get a lower deposit or you could get a free drink package, or if you book by a certain date, and those won't necessarily be on the website. So find a reputable travel agent. Definitely check with your travel agent. Same thing with cruise points. There are fake people, okay? Fake travel agents, fake cruise line websites, and just fake people selling things like cruise points. Well, I don't know of anybody that has cruise points. I mean, I know of loyalty statuses, but they could sell you lots of cruise points, which gives you an incredible discount, and you get there and it doesn't exist.
Right. Especially if you're a first time cruiser and, the scammers are very sophisticated now. They know exactly what to say. They know what works, what doesn't. So if they're, buttering you up and saying, oh, this is your first time. If you come on with all these cruise points, you're going to be able to do this and that extra. And you don't know any better. Sometimes it just sounds like a great deal.
Right. Exactly. And if this is your first cruise, you definitely need to go through a travel agent to get a little bit of advice and learn everything you can on YouTube as well, because there's a lot of great advice out there on YouTube channels just like this one. Okay. And again, you can watch it over and over. Now, fake travel agents is a big one because, again, there's people. You can make yourself anything on the internet, and some people are actually found buying ads on Google search as whatever. Yeah. So you could go and I know of one person who wanted to, the flight was very, very, very late, and she wanted to change her boarding time because she didn't know if she had to. And she was going to get there very close to all aboard. And so she went to Google to get the phone number. And one of the scams is where they tell you they think they're talking to the cruise line, right? And the cruise line says, "Okay, yeah, that's fine, but we need to charge. You have an open balance, okay, an outstanding balance because you didn't pay your deck fees or you didn't pay your." Docking fees, or they come up with something and they'll charge you a couple of $100. They get all your information and your credit card to book this cruise, which by the way, you'll still get on your cruise if you make it on time, but you're going to lose money.
Another good point for that one as well is the possibility or the probability of them even canceling or changing your reservation once you've already given them all that information.
Yes, and that did happen to one lady who was so excited about her first cruise, and she was bringing the whole family, and it was a $10,000 cruise package, okay? And she was so excited that she was posting all of the information on the on Facebook
Online.
without really thinking. And, her dates and the cruise line, her booking number, all that stuff was on there. And when they got to the port, their cruise had been canceled. Somebody else booked it, but it was canceled too late for her to get any money back.
Mm-hmm.
So she lost $10,000 on that. So be very careful.
So unfortunate.
And I believe, Karla, maybe you can help me with this. If you're talking to the cruise line directly, well, first of all, you should talk to your travel agent. They'll let you know if you need to, rebook your boarding time or whatever the issue is. But does the cruise line itself have access to the booking number if you give them your name?
Yes.
Okay, so don't give your booking number. And don't give any credit card information because they already have your account set up.
Correct. And again, this is where you really want to, if you're working with a travel agent, you shouldn't have to deal with these headaches. Mm-hmm. But, and it's never too late to work with a travel agent too. If you did already book yourself a cruise and you have that information and there are some more things that you either need to adjust or you want to add on some excursions that, you're not completely done planning the trip, it's never too late to reach out and get a travel agent's advice and direction.
Yeah, and we'll talk about excursions in just a minute too. Another red flag, any point in the process is if the fake cruise line or the fake travel agent or the fake person wants you to pay by Cash App or Venmo or Zelle. People are falling for that. So if they want you to pay, and you've got to pay with a credit card because at least then you have recourse if somebody's going to steal your money. It's not good because they have all your credit card information, but
you can cancel cards, you can change numbers, and that is the best course of action.
Exactly. So another thing you can do is immediately download your app when you book the cruise the first time. And then if you give a cruise line your name because you have a question or and you talk to the cruise line, which you will have to do if you book directly, check and see if the booking number that you're given when you book a cruise is the same one that's on the app. Make sure it is on the app. Because if that's not on the app, then this person isn't booking you on that cruise or on that cruise line. Mm-hmm. So, that's one, a pretty important tip to remember. So, and of course, if you have any questions, you can email us, Karla at travelwithbrigetta. That's BRIGITTE.com, like travelwithbridget.com. It's a German name. A lot of people think it's Bridget. Any other thing you can think about as far as like the booking goes?
Booking, usually the red flags are there. And if you do get some kind of message or email that you're not too sure about, always double check if you're not working with a travel agent on the actual cruise line's website. They will have a contact us tab. They will have their official emails, their official numbers. If it does not match that, do not respond, delete it, report junk. Just don't interact.
Or email us because we can answer your questions as well. And that would be Karla at travelwithbrigetta.com. And you see that on the bottom of your screen. Okay. All right. So another after you book, but kind of pre-boarding type scam that comes up is there are Facebook groups called roll calls. And that's where people who are going to be on that particular cruise go and they kind of meet each other and they talk and they might share advice for each other or arrange to meet in the bar or for dinner or something like that. And a lot of people like it, especially if they're solo travelers. But there are some scams there. So, Karla, what would you say as the first scam for people coming onto the roll calls and there to scam other people who are on the roll call?
So a few things we see there specifically, some simple things where they'll be like, oh, this is, we're putting together a raffle. Everyone, you can buy up $5 raffle tickets, buy up to 10, and the winner will be announced on board. We'll do we'll arrange a time at a bar or whatever. And sometimes you have 500 plus people in these groups that maybe half of them sign up to do that. That's definitely a very popular one. We also have a new one that seems very attractive, seems like it's coming from someone that's genuinely trying to gather people and meet some new friends. It's called the sip and paint scam. So if you're unfamiliar with what a sip and paint is, it's kind of, it's very common in bigger cities, sometimes bars, sometimes art galleries, where you pay maybe $25 to $50 a person. They provide the wine and materials for the night, and you hang out with friends and you paint a picture.
You learn to paint.
You learn to paint, yeah. So people are now bringing this idea on board, going on these Facebook groups saying who would like to participate. All I need is $25 per person, and I can provide all the materials. And, you might get together with some friends and say, this sounds like a great idea. You're waiting for the day to come. Turns out this was a fake profile, a scammer that was never going to be on the boat.
Right. In fact, most of these are by fake cruisers that aren't going to be on the boat. So the bottom line with this is, and I'll tell you about a few others. The bottom line is, don't send money to anybody. Right. If you're going to book something through the cruise line or through your travel agent, as long as it's a legit cruise line and travel agent, then you're good. But if you want to participate in somebody's raffle, tell them you'll buy the tickets with cash on the ship. Yep. Don't ever send money. And so this is the same, you'll find the same thing from someone who says, I can't go on the cruise anymore, and I bought a bunch of cruise ducks for a game that a lot of people play. And I want to give them to you free, but just pay for shipping. Contact me here. And a slot pool where people all go together, pool their money together and do slot machines, and then they share all the winnings if they win.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They'll say, send your money in advance. Let's make T-shirts or, anything like that where they want the money in advance. Don't do that.
And what they'll do as well is it might be one person most, but there are several fake accounts that will be like, oh yes, I love so-and-so did this last time and it was a great time. And that makes you think, okay, this might actually be trustworthy, but it's not the case.
Right. Keep your information private on these groups. And by that, I mean, don't share your phone number. Don't share your email address. Don't share your cabin number. Okay. But maybe do share where you're going to meet somebody. And then you can talk about, let's do this excursion together, or, let's do a slot pool, or, whatever you guys want to do. But meet the person first. Meet them on embarkation day between certain hours, and that way you're not giving anything, no information. Remember the lady whose cruise got canceled? Mm-hmm. No information, nothing. And then don't become friends with somebody. Karla, tell me about the scam you were talking about becoming friends.
So people will, they'll start to get friendly, especially the closer it gets, the more excited you are, and you want to talk to people about what else you can do on the boat, people that are experienced, that they already know the ship, they have their preferences, maybe a preference in the bars, the restaurants, the excursions at the ports, and you get to know one another. Well, we have this new scam, it's called the romance scam, where it's mainly male profiles, but there are female profiles out there as well. You'll see a pattern with usually the age bracket from 40 to 60. Most of these men's profiles will say they're divorced or widowed, or, single in some way. And they will talk you up. They will be real nice. And, 2-3 months before the cruise, all of a sudden they can't make their final payment. Or they'd really love to go on that excursion with you, but they can't afford it. Or their flight got canceled, and to rebook a new flight to the port is such and such, and their credit card is maxed out.
Yeah.
So you really have to be careful with the friend requests that you get from any cruise line groups you're in. It's more than likely it's going to be a scammer some way, somehow.
Anybody asking you for money beforehand, that's probably what it comes down to, except the legitimate travel agent or cruise line. And so you have to do your due diligence to make sure it's a legit travel agent or cruise line. But anything where they're asking for money in advance, then you don't want to do it. And then there's the fake YouTube recommendations that you might find. And this is brand new because this is AI, where they take AI and they'll take some of the famous YouTubers that you might see, you will see if you look for cruises, because they have the most people and they're going to come up first, as a suggestion for you. And they'll be recommending either an excursion, they'll be recommending certain products for you to take on your cruise, they'll be recommending certain travel agents, they'll be recommending certain whatever, those. If your influencer is recommending something, make sure you're seeing it on their podcast, okay? They're known bloggers that you trust, and other people too, like very famous Captain Kate. And there are a lot of famous cruise directors, and then the guy that owns one of the cruise lines is always is on one of the social media sites talking to people all the time. I haven't talked to him, so I don't remember which one it is, but anybody famous in the cruise world that is recommending something, double check and make sure it's them recommending it, because they either might not send it or it might be junk. You just don't know.
Yeah, so, if they're not communicating on their usual platform, if it's some type of alternate messaging or social media, like, Telegram or WhatsApp or something like that, that is not how influencers communicate. That's not how they're going to reach out or collaborate in any way.
That's right. So one of the things you can do to double check, because you're going to look like you're watching that person's podcast or an advertisement for that person. Okay, that will come up in your feed,
right?
Because it's your topic that you're looking at all the time. And with AI, it's going to look exactly like their site. But go to their site that you can link through on YouTube and see how many followers they have. Because there are people like Emma, one of the people who recommends her cruisers to come to us. I think Emma Cruises. She's got like 500,000 followers. So if you see Emma recommending something and there's not 500,000 followers there, that's not a real Emma site. Okay, right. So you want to look at things like that. And again, I would say, just to be extra careful, don't don't accept a recommendation from anybody who you aren't subscribed to. Because you can look at anything and it's a fake site. You haven't even seen the regular person's site yet, right? Yes. But if in your subscription, you're not subscribed to the scammer. They don't have your information. So I would say subscribe to those you trust, and then make sure it comes into your subscription feeds. Follow them, and then you would know it's coming from them. So that's just another way to kind of take care of it. So another one is when you get on the ship, and this isn't really like a scam, it's more theft. If you've ever noticed, if you're taking a cruise before, you walk down the hallway, when you get to your cabin, your keys are in a slot on the door or in an envelope or something, right? They don't give you...
Depends on the cruise line now.
Okay, so some people are stopping doing that. My last was on the door, and I kind of wondered about that, why they just leave it on the door, but I've never had a problem with it. Mm-hmm. But I have heard of people who have, they go down and because they don't have their keys yet, and they're checking on that, and then they find out that they've already bought a bunch of drinks, and, they've already bought so many things. Mm-hmm. And so, you definitely, if your keys are not there, you definitely...
Yeah, I think the cruise lines are doing a better job of mitigating that now.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
I know with Princess, they use like a medallion, and now that gets mailed to you. That gets mailed to your
medallion. If you're in the U.S., it gets mailed to you.
Yes.
Right. And if not, you'll get it on embarkation when you check in. Mm-hmm. And I love
something they just leave at your door.
Yeah, I got the watch thing, right?
Oh, that's great.
The watch holder. And it's waterproof, so you could take it on board, you could take it in the water. So I just wore it all the time and didn't take it off. And you walk up to your room with that and it unlocks. I mean, mm-hmm. You call for a drink by the pool and they know exactly where you are and they bring you your drink. I mean, it's they've really outdone everybody else with that.
Yeah, hopefully that's a trend that will get everyone else on board.
I know it's been a few years. I'm surprised it hasn't caught on already, but COVID happened, so that's kind of changed everything. Okay, so now you get to the port. One caution that isn't a scam, but don't ever wear military type fatigue type clothing. Don't ever wear anything like
camo.
Yeah, camo. Thank you. Because in a lot of the countries, especially in Caribbean, that's illegal, and you can actually get arrested for that. So just remember that. And then there are a number of taxi scams. Sometimes we'll talk about excursions in a minute, but sometimes, you want to just see the town or and maybe hire a driver for the day or have someone take you to such and such beach, or go without a package, but go to the same beach, stuff like that. And there are a number of taxi scams. There's the different destination scam. You're going to this famous such and such beach, and either that beach is closed, they say, the taxi driver says, or they know of a better one that's cheaper. And sometimes it's a resort that they'll sell you tickets to, which of course are fake. And so you don't end up going where you wanted to, but you end up going where you don't want to, and either being at a crappy place or not being able to get in to the good place. And then you've been scammed.
Or it's twice as far, and they tell you, it's a crowded place, and if that's not what you want, okay, well, I can drive you back now, but it's going to be twice as much.
Yeah, a lot of times though, when they'll come back, or someone a taxi will pick you up from, say, the beach or resort to go back to the cruise ship, and you think it's going to be $6 because that's what it was to get there, but to the cruise port. So that's a scary one to watch out for. And then sometimes what they'll do is they'll charge you more, and then they take you. And this has happened a number of times. It's kind of a back to the port shakedown is what I call it. Okay. But they take you to the back of the port where there's nobody around except maybe like a couple of thugs. And then they demand more money to get back, to take you to the cruise ship. And I mean, you're afraid for your life. So you pay the money to get back to the cruise ship. So you really want to watch out with your taxi drivers.
One of the ways to hopefully avoid these situations is you want to make sure you are going with a licensed taxi, not just someone there saying, I'll do rides for such and such price.
Yeah. And a lot of countries have Uber. The problem is a lot of the Uber drivers are fake. So they come up and they show you the Uber logo on their phone, and people fall for that and they get in. The nice thing I like about Uber is use the app. If they have it in that country, you can check it in advance. But always use the app, because then you're only going to get a legitimate driver, and you're going to know ahead of time, the license plate of the car that's coming to get you. So, there's a fair amount of accountability there. And plus, you're not going to fall for some of the financial scams because you've paid Uber. And you can tip through Uber, or you can tip in person, because I got to tell you, they will never have change. None of the drivers will ever have change. So you want to bring small bills, and then don't expect any change. Come in small bills with your own currency, because you're going to get change. If you do get it, you're going to get it in the local currency too. So we'll talk about that with currency exchanges. One more taxi scam is you're in a van that holds 6, okay? And you and a friend get on and they take you to wherever. And then you get there and they say, well, I could have had 6 people, so I need to charge you this much for the empty seats that I could have had. So make sure you know the price in advance, so that you're and let them know how many people are going to do it. A couple of the things,
I'll add on to that, because I've been scammed almost the other way around, where it was, it was a regular taxi. I think it was like a 5-seater car, and it was myself and my friend, and then another 2 set of girls. Well,
our destination was further. The girls were going to get dropped off, halfway. They paid their fare, but the taxi never started it again or did anything. So then the fare that was there when we got there, we had to pay double.
Okay. Yeah. So beware of them starting their meters, and make sure they have meters, and find out what the price is for the kilometer or whatever, or to take you to a certain destination. Now, Cozumel is good because they've posted all of the taxi rates that are mandated, and they've posted all the rates that go to like all of the famous places. And I believe they all have meters too, but the prices are always posted, and that is legal. It's the law. So pay in small bills, always know the prices in advance, and look for those meters, and then also look for anywhere that they might have prices posted, like at a taxi stand. I would opt for Uber myself. Okay.
Yes,
also, once you're on, let's say, import, and because there's in most ports, there's a lot to do. I mean, there's lots of shopping, and then there's a lot of activities that you can do free at the port. Some have a pool. They typically have restaurants. I've gotten one of those pedicures where the fish eat the dead skin off your feet, that type of thing. Ended up with one clean foot and one dirty one, but can't do anything about that. So there's some scams that are shopping scams. Okay. Now, you might go to a port talk where the cruise director is going to sit down and say, we're going here and here and here, and I recommend this restaurant and go to this location, et cetera, et cetera. One of the things that you need to remember is that the cruise directors don't all work for the cruise lines. The cruise directors, a lot of them are contracted through companies that provide cruise directors to either a cruise line or a certain ship. And so a lot of the cruise directors will get kickbacks based on who they bring into your store. We had that happen once in Cartagena. I went with Brigetta, the founder of Travel with Brigetta. And the cruise director talked about this, it's emeralds. They're known for emeralds. And the best place to get your emeralds is at this store. And you go in that store, looks like very big and modern. I mean, it looks like something you'd see in Beverly Hills. Okay. And we're told that it's reputable. And he walks in with this whole group of people, and we're looking, and Brigetta bought an emerald and diamond ring.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So this guy gets a kickback for it. And then she gets home and has it appraised and finds out all of the emeralds are fake and the diamonds are crap.
Oh my goodness.
But she bought it at a reputable store that was recommended by the cruise director. So you got to watch out for something like that.
Yes, definitely.
Use your own instincts. There's another one, Diamonds International. They're all over the place. They're all over like the Caribbean places. And I understand they have a corporate office in New York. That's what they told me. And they guarantee their stuff. And I bought a ring there one time, which I haven't had appraised, but I think I got a really good price on it. Okay. But I lost a diamond. So the last time I went on a cruise, I went to that port because they guaranteed to replace the diamond. So I went there first. Well, they don't have that size in stock. So I'll need to send my ring to Diamonds International in New York to get it. Or I can upgrade to this other one and kind of trade this one in on a newer one that either has bigger diamonds or, is prettier or, or whatever. I just told them I would send it to Diamonds International. And right now I'm looking, and, you can't really see that easily that the stone is missing. But, that's another thing is when you're told about a guarantee, it might not be real.
No, it might not be as simple as they're making it seem. That's very common in the jewelry. I have a friend that they lost her engagement ring. This was like K Jewelers. Okay. So K Jewelers doing the same thing where they're like, oh, well, yes, we guarantee this, but we don't do it here. They have to send it out.
So you're going to find a lot of this is that scams that we have on land, you can also find on the cruise ship or in the cruise ports. You know, the Caribbean is known for like emeralds or diamonds or gold, you know, or whatever. But that doesn't mean what you're getting there is real. On the ship, the gold by the inch chains, you know, not real. I mean, they'll tarnish before you even get home. It's really bad. I understand that some places are selling fake vanilla in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
It's my understanding. I wouldn't know how to tell you to know if it's fake vanilla. They put like cheap junk in it instead of the actual vanilla. My instinct tells me that the closer you are to the ship, like sometimes as you're coming through customs, you're walking through a bunch of shops just to get into the port. My instinct tells me that there it's probably more legit, but I don't know for sure. If you know, please post it in the comments below. Let us know how, if you've ever been scammed by this and how you can know and keep yourself from getting this kind of a scam. Maybe going into town to buy the vanilla where the locals might buy it might be a good option.
Yeah, I was going to say, because to me, it almost sounds like the opposite. It's like the closer you are to the boat, the port, the tourist is where you're more than likely to get scammed and have all the fake items sold to you. And then you're off on the boat and they'll never see you again.
And, you know, there's another influencer, their YouTuber, who is very well known, who went shopping. And again, she's savvy to all of these scams. Well, we're never savvy to all of them because they're always adding new ones. But she bought a high-end purse at a store. And she was talking to the owner, who was so nice. It was treating her like a member of the family, and she pays for the purse. In the meantime, somebody in the background is bagging up a different purse that's cheaper. She paid for the expensive one. She gets this cheap junk purse. She carries it, and when she's on the cruise ship, she realizes that they gave her the wrong purse. She can't do anything about it.
Yep.
So, you know, that's another one. And maybe
bait and switch. Yes, that happens often. Yeah. That can happen with many other items as well.
Right. And maybe if you pay by credit card, you will have recourse after the fact. You know, I don't know. Any other shopping scams you can think of?
Yes, one to watch out for, especially if you have smaller children with you, is the bump and brake scam.
Oh, yes.
Yes, where, you know, someone will come in and act like they're a tourist as well, or like they're just shopping around, and they'll either bump into you or bump into your child or something and make them, you know, bump into some item that's for sale that falls and breaks. And then all of a sudden you're liable. The shop owner is usually in on it. And they're going to ask you for, yes, they're going to be upset. They're going to ask you for an exorbitant amount of cash to cover the loss. And this especially happens with people that are traveling with young children, because it's so easy to blame it on a kid that's, you know, walking around or just younger, that you can't even ask them what happened.
Yeah.
So keep them close.
They'll yell at you, and yeah, don't let your kids touch anything. The owner will yell at you. They will be totally irate. They will threaten to call the police. In fact, did you hear about that lady who her young daughter was bumped into and something fell and broke? And they were like, I'm going to take your daughter and we're going to go to the police.
Oh my goodness, no.
And, you know, I don't know what to do if this happens to you. Don't pay for it. But no. What this lady did is she grabbed her daughter and got out of there right away. And nobody followed her. So, you know, and probably the cops know about the scam already too, but I would get out of there, especially if you have a child. Get out of there as soon as you can.
Yes, definitely.
And make note if somebody bumps into you, because sometimes if they're bumping into you, it's especially in Europe, it's a pickpocket.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of ideas I have to prevent getting pickpocketed, and they are very good, is to buy, here's what I have. I have a fanny pack that is a slash proof. So if somebody comes up with a knife to this fanny pack, they can't slash through it. And on it, it also has zippers that have holes in it
where you can put I have a combination luggage lock that has like a long hoop, and it's really thin. It's wire strong, but it's thin, so you can stick it through a zipper holder, and wherever you have your money or important documents, have that locked. Don't let anybody see where you're keeping your money, what pocket you have it in, anything like that. And what I would do is I would have small amounts in different places and reach to different places when you're going to pay. So if you spend the money in the front pocket, they can come and try to get the front pocket, but the money's really in the back pocket. Just something like that, because the pickpocketers are so sophisticated that you might not know till much later that your whole wallet is gone, or whatever. So really watch out for that. And then one of the other pickpocket scams is the condiment scam. And I learned about this from some expats in Mexico when I was going not on a cruise, but to stay there in Puerto Vallarta at one of the cruise ports. One of the things is that they'll, like, you're walking along downtown or wherever, and you get accidentally mustard flies onto you, or ketchup, or somebody spills their coffee on you, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and they start wiping you off and cleaning you. In the meantime, they or somebody else is pickpocketing you. So don't let anybody touch you. Just
say, "I'll clean up myself."
Exactly. Don't let anybody touch you. And then sometimes they'll come to take your purse. So do cross body purse or do a fanny pack, which are in style again, which is good. I've been wearing them since they weren't in style. But get on Amazon. I don't remember what I paid. It might have been $50 or $60 for my slash proof, but nobody can slash it off me like they will with some purses and run with the entire thing. So that's one way to protect yourself. And there was one more shopping scam that I was thinking about. There are so many of them.
One that I think you really have to be proactive with is it's kind of double-sided, but any pictures you want taken at the port, there might be people dressed up or have either in like mascots or just like with the local culture, maybe their general dress, and you want to take a picture with them, and they might tell you it's free, or they might tell you, "Oh, sure, it's $3. But then you take 1, 2, or 3 pictures and they say, "Okay, well, that was $3 per picture. Or that was $10 per picture." Or on the other side of the coin, if you just want like a picture with your family and you're trying to find someone around to take it for you, I mean, I would recommend maybe if you recognize someone else that was on the boat, that's going to be your best bet, because someone else is going to be like, "Okay, well, I took 4 pictures and I'm going to charge you $10 per picture that I took, or I'm not going to send it to you," because you don't want to hand your phone over. Right. You don't want to hand your phone over to a stranger to take a picture on your own phone.
Right.
That's number one for sure. So if you're asking a stranger to take the photo of you, expect them to want something in return.
And of course, as you're getting onto the cruise, they usually take a picture, and and sometimes when you're getting off at the port, the cruise line is taking pictures as you go. That's pretty safe. It's going to be pricey, but it's pretty safe, and you don't buy it unless you want to. So,
and sometimes they'll be nice enough to be like, "Okay, can you take one with our phone now?" And they will, and you'll get your phone back in that circumstance.
Exactly, and they're not going to take it and run like some people, some locals might do. I call that the candy from strangers con. They're going to give you something free, if they're charging you, and then scamming by charging more after. But then let's say they tell you the picture is free, just friendly, and then they start demanding money, and then they start getting more aggressive and following you. And the free bracelet or item, again, candy from strangers. Somebody walks up and says, "I just want to give you this bracelet to welcome you," or "I want you to feel like this is your home," or whatever. It's a friendship bracelet. It doesn't cost anything, and it'll be on your wrist before you know it. And then they'll start demanding money for one thing or another, because they gave you the free bracelet. Maybe they'll want a tip, or they'll come up with reasons to demand money. And again, they'll be irate and harassing you.
Aggressive.
Very aggressive. So, I mean, you can walk away or run away from any of these circumstances, but they can be very intimidating. And sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to buy this bracelet. Oh, this poor person, this is how they're going to pay for their dinner. No, not it.
You're one of many that they'll do that to that day. You're not the first or the last.
Right. And then I heard of this one. This is a new one that I've never experienced. I don't know any examples of someone who did, but I've heard of it, that it's like the menu switcheroo at a restaurant. Okay. Mm-hmm. You go to the restaurant and either there's no prices on the menu. That's scary. You need to find out that in advance. But you might get one menu. And then when you go to pay, it's a lot more money. And you're like, wait a second, this was supposed to be $12 or, whatever. And they bring you a menu that has it as $18 for it or something like that. And so they have two sets of menus. So I would act like a tourist and take a picture of the menu, so that you've got proof that this is what the menu said and that's what you're going to pay. So that's just what I would recommend you do. And kind of like if you get in a car accident, you should get your camera and start taking pictures of where each car is and stuff like that, because, somebody might lie about that later. So, that's another one to watch out for. Any others that you see like on the either in port or in town or, at a restaurant?
Those are the main ones I see for sure. Then the restaurant one, I would say, especially if they don't have a lot of the restaurants, they'll have like the menu out in the open before you even, ask to be seated. So do your due diligence. If you already see that there and you're still interested, ask the hostess, ask the waiter, well, can I see the actual menu? I want to see prices. And there's nothing wrong with asking that. Even if you sit down and you're ready to order, I'm not going to order until I see the full priced menu.
Yeah. And if you buy a drink, you might get a margarita and it says a certain price on the menu, but then they come back and they charge you more. And then they say, well, we gave you the top shelf. We gave you the best liquor, so it costs more. So know what you're getting or know what you're telling them you
know
want.
What you're ordering. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about money. First of all, currency exchanges. There are a lot of ways that you can lose money in the process of a currency exchange. You can get overcharged. So you go to convert it and you get a lot less money than you should be getting. Airports are in a different country are a big place where this happens. Don't ever exchange currency at an airport.
No.
Know in advance what the exchange rate is in that country. And there's this website you can go to. There are many, I'm sure, but this one is called Owanda. It's OANDA.com. And it has currencies from everywhere. And you can go to that website. It's free, and put in any currency and know what that day it is worth, relative to the dollar or to euro or whatever it is that you have, that you're using. And then what I like to do, even when I'm going, traveling by plane or bus to, not going on a cruise, is I will get the currency at home. Give yourself a couple of weeks. It usually takes just a few days, but I always like to give plenty of time. But go to your bank. I have used Wells Fargo and Chase to do this, and I'm sure most of them do this. Figure out what you might want to get in the local currency and ask them for X number of dollars from your account to be exchanged for small bills of this amount. Then they order it, and then that gets sent to whichever branch you want. And then they let you know when it's there, and you go pick up your small bills of currency. It's actually very easy, but it takes a few days. And
yes, it's very easy.
Yeah, if there's holidays, then, it's going to take a little bit longer. So I would give it a couple of weeks just in case there's a problem. So I always do that, because it's harder for somebody to overcharge you, like, say, a taxi, to overcharge you if you're giving small bills in their currency, or, to keep the change and all that kind of stuff. So, and then the other thing I do is in an envelope where I keep, I just went to Mexico and I keep all my pesos in one envelope, and the currency there is 20 to 1. very easy math, but sometimes you're like a little nervous and you're thinking of gosh, is that right? So on the envelope flap, I put down $1 is 20 pesos because it was 20 to 1, right? Okay. $50 is about $2.50. $100 is about $5, and $200 is about $10, and $1,000 is about $50. You know what I mean? And I just went up to that much because if you're even going to a grocery store or you're going to buy a souvenir or something, it might get into the thousands. But pay in the local currency, and if you have that option, paying with a credit card at a store to pay in the local currency. Then also you won't get screwed over on the exchange rate.
But yes, you're right. I 100% recommend at least having some of the local currency, and like you said, in small bills. And it is very easy with your local bank, usually, especially something a little more established like a Wells Fargo, a Chase, a Bank of America, and you can do it all online. I believe with Wells Fargo, as long as you do it maybe I think like 4 weeks in advance from your departure date, you can even get it mailed to your house. You don't even have to go to the branch at all.
I think this last time, that's what I had with Wells Fargo. And with Chase, I actually went into the branch to ask for it. And I think I only did it, it was on my list and kept getting put off. And I think I only did it about a week in advance, but I still got it, by the day they told me I was going to have it. They called me to let me know that it was there. Let's backtrack a little bit about taking the pictures. Another place where you want to take photos at the beginning is if you're renting a scooter or something like that. Just like if you rent a car, take photos that there's no damage, or take photos that the damage was already there.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I mean? So, because there's that whole, here's this dent, thousands of dollars because you caused it when you didn't cause it.
Right.
So, and then the last category I have is the excursions scam. Is there anything else that you can think of that I didn't mention?
No, it's exactly where my mind was headed as well.
Okay. So, the fake people, somebody on the Roll Call Facebook group, or somebody who is on the ship that might want to scam you on the ship, which is probably much less common because it's easy to get caught that way. Or somebody who either looks like a tourist or is a local and says, I have cheaper tickets. Even your taxi driver can do that. Or they say, a tourist looking person will say, I have tickets to this and I can't go, and I'll give it to you for half price or something like that, just so I can get some of my money back. And
yeah, the show was last night.
Yeah. Or they're not legit. Right. So if you buy it at the port, it can sometimes be a scam. So even through the cruise line, like I went to a glass bottom kayak excursion that I booked through a cruise line. It was in Belize. And so we were supposed to, we took a bus to the beach where they had food for us, and we went out on these glass bottom kayaks, which I highly recommend. I never knew how well you can see underneath you in a glass bottom kayak. It's amazing. And then we get out there and we're going and going and going to this place where all the fish are, because this is where the fish always hang out. Well, my first clue was when we got stopped, and we're in about 2 feet of water. Okay. We get stopped and he picks up, this brown sea urchin that was in the sand, and there's nothing else there, but we're still in shallow water. I'm thinking we're not there yet. Right. Turns out they had a hurricane 2 years before, and all the fish left. So for 2 years, there has been no fish there. Okay. And I booked this one through the cruise line. Okay. But there were no refunds because the fine print says they can't ever guarantee that you're going to see wildlife,
right,
which is reasonable to me. But they knew after 2 years that there was no fish there.
And you know what? Actually, another way to kind of see whether or not that's a red flag, and it's going to depend where you are, but like there are some excursion companies like that where they will guarantee you. They will guarantee you see, the turtles or the dolphins or something. And if not, then you get to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to find someone that can actually tell you that.
And what I recommend, because any excursion companies can be scammers as well, that you find online. Anything online doesn't have to be true, right? So I recommend that you book with, and this is what I would always do, a reputable travel agent, and then have them book you with a reputable excursion agency that they know, because they know this agency, so they know that they don't do these practices, right? And they will usually get you for like about half off. You'll get the excursion, and with the company doing direct, you're not going to be going with a group of 25 people and taking a long time to get on the bus, and then a long time to, wait in line, and going a little bit at a time, and then they kind of rush you through. You might go with like your own group or 10 people most. You know what I mean? You'll go with a small group directly with the excursion. So you'll actually have a better experience. You'll know it's legit because the travel agent, and it won't cost you any more to go through a travel agent for this, but you'll be saving a lot of money. Save money, have a better time, and not get scammed. So that's one of the reasons I always recommend a travel agent, even for, and I used to say book it through the cruise line too. If and oh, by the way, these excursion companies that we would recommend will guarantee that you get back to the ship on time. So
yes, that's important.
I always booked through the cruise line because they would guarantee that if they would wait for you if you don't get back to the ship on time, right? But after that experience in Belize, I am more inclined to get the travel agent to book me through a reputable tour instead.
That way you have a better idea of all your options as well. The cruise line's only going to have, maybe 3 or 4 different popular excursions that are particular to that port, and they're only going to have, one resource that provides that. When, if you just in general are saying, I want to go snorkeling, we can probably find 5 to 10 different excursions that are based on snorkeling, but one might be 2 hours and you get such and such, or one might be the full 5 hours that you're going to be on port, but still allowing you time to get back. So we can cater to what you specifically need for your party. And we have all these options instead of you picking from just what the cruise line has picked out for you.
Right. And if a tour says, we're going to have 2 hours snorkeling and then we're going to have an hour for lunch, and, and you want to stay snorkeling longer, you really can't. But if you're, if you say, take a ride to the beach, bring your own snorkel gear so you don't have to pay for it. And my sister did that when we went to St. Thomas. It was gorgeous. And we just went to the beach. And then we went out in the water, and she spent a lot of time snorkeling. We didn't pay a thing. In fact, they even had food to feed the fish, but the fish were coming up even without being fed. So, it was just amazing. Anything else I didn't think of? That's all I can think of.
Yeah, like you said, this is what we have on our radar right now. Things pop up every day, new scams. I'm sure we'll learn of some, and we'll let you know as we pick up on them.
Yeah, and anytime you hear about a scam that we haven't mentioned to you, we might not have thought of it, or we might not know about it. So in case of that, or unless you want to let somebody, in case you want to let somebody else know, go ahead and post it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. These are just the tip of the iceberg. Don't be afraid. We don't mean to scare you. Just be aware. Be prepared.
Be aware.
Okay. Remember that everybody wants your money, whether they're giving you something free or not. Don't take candy from strangers. When you go into port, don't take all your money with you. Okay. Keep your valuables in your safe. My mother-in-law had a $26,000 wedding ring. Wouldn't want to take that in port. The thing really weighed a half a pound.
Yeah.
She would go to Weight Watchers and they would deduct half a pound when she got on the scale. So keep your money safe with a slash-free purse or something, and RFID protectors. Even I have RFID protectors on my credit cards, even here at home. Have currency and know its value. And if you're going to use dollars, at least know the exchange rate. And here's something that a lot of people don't know. I've never done this before. I just heard about it. I'm going to do it all the time now. The cruise lines provide a schedule for the day every day, and on that will be like when disembarkation is, when embarkation is, what else is going on, all of that. And a lot of times it's just on the app, but you can go to guest services and get a copy of it, paper printout, or you can ask your cabin steward to bring you a printout every day. And then the night before, they'll have it on your door or in your cabin. Bring that with you. And here's why. It's also going to have, in addition to what time you have to get back on board, because you want to be back on at least 30 minutes before that. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to mess with that. I mean, if you're late, they will leave without you. And it's your it's your job to get yourself to the next port.
Yes, it's your responsibility.
Or to get home, whatever. But it will have the cruise ship contact information. It'll have the Port Authority phone number where you can get help locally. And then the last thing that I have is know what port you're in, because there are some destinations where there are a few ports, and you tell the taxi, take me back to the cruise port. You know, you're going to miss your cruise if you go to the wrong port.
Yes.
So, and that information should be on your Princess Patter or, you know, or whatever it's called for the cruise line that you're on. So we really enjoyed being with you today on the Seize the Day podcast, powered by Travel with Brigetta. Remember, this is your podcast. So feel free always to comment below or email us at Karla with a K, Karla at travelwithbrigetta.com. And you can always book an excursion or travel through Travel with Brigetta bookings at travelwithbrigetta.com. We're Karla and Julie, and we will be back next week on the Seize the Day podcast.
You've been listening to the Seize the Day podcast, powered by Travel with Brigetta. If you like what you heard, please like and subscribe. And as always, feel free to ask us anything in the comments section. We love to hear from you. Or email us at bookings@travelwithbrigetta.com. Till next time, seize the day.